on my phone. I'm sure everyone just got that too if you live in Maryland. Strange times we're living in, and welcome to our virtual Stag Night. Glad everyone could join us. Sorry that we have to meet under these conditions, and let's just hope and pray that next year at this time things will be better. When we have our Stag Night, we always begin, as we do every day at DeMatha, we have a prayer. So we're going to ask our president, Father James, to come in here. He's going to say a few words, and then he will lead us in prayer, and then we'll hear from a few others, Bill McGregor and Mike Jones, and then we'll get to our speakers. So Father, if you could take over right now, that'd be great.
Again, good evening, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving. And I would just echo what Tom just said. We never thought we would having this style of a Stag Night in 2020, but we hope and pray that with the vaccines coming, that next year we'll be back to our normal routine in the ever famous Antler Room, where we can enjoy one another face to face. And I certainly would like to thank our DeMatha alums, Mike Brey and Pete Strickland, for being a part of this evening. And we certainly look forward to the next hour. DeMatha has chosen to dedicate this virtual Stag Night to the memory of Morgan Wootten. Morgan started this event 50 years ago, and just one of the many accomplishments he had in his long career. And we had planned many wonderful things to do tonight prior to the pandemic. Morgan always believed this event would be a fundraiser, but this year we obviously cannot charge tickets or even run the proverbial 50-50. But we are asking everyone to consider making a donation online from our website in honor of this Stag Night, the former smoker. Anyone making a $75 contribution or more will receive from us in the mail a special Christmas ornament that we have chosen in honor of Morgan. And the same offer will be made on Tuesday, which is the National Giving Day. If anyone chooses to give $75 or more, we will send them the Christmas ornament. And we've chosen the number $75 because in September 9th of 2021, this coming September, will be our 75th anniversary as a school. So we thank you for your consideration. You've been very generous to us throughout the years, and we always appreciate your support we receive year in and year out from members of the DeMatha community. Before I start with the prayer, I'd also ask us to pray for many people within our community. There are many empty chairs at many tables this Thanksgiving and Christmas season for many different reasons. And there are many more people who are still struggling with various illnesses. Now, John Moylan is a name that is so significant in our DeMatha history. John is home. It's been a tough year for him and for Joan. Joan is always there, faithful to him. He's not a COVID-19 patient. He does not have that illness, but the years have really impacted on him physically and mentally. So I think it'd be important. There might be some of John's family on this Zoom tonight, and we need to communicate to the Moylan family. We are thinking about John and Joan and the entire family, and not just sending good thoughts, but as a faith-filled school, faith-based school, we also send our prayers. We want them to know that they are still part of our connection. So on behalf of the board of directors, on behalf of the Trinitarians, on behalf of Dr. McMahon, our principal, and the faculty, staff, and students, I'd like to wish everyone on Zoom tonight a safe and peaceful Thanksgiving. It's wonderful to have an attitude of gratitude. We are certainly very grateful. As I was scrolling through the screen, waiting for everybody to get on. It's multiple pages. And I believe Morgan would be very proud of the number of people that have come tonight, even in this unusual circumstance. So with all that being said, I'd like to ask us to pause for a moment, quiet our minds and hearts, and then in a moment, I will lead us in prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. Loving God of all people, we thank you for the faith and the feelings which bring us together tonight in one collective voice of gratitude. We thank you for the people you have placed in our lives who love us and whom we love. We thank you for the memories of DeMatha and those dedicated people who still shape us to this very day. During this difficult year, we also thank you for the courage and commitment demonstrated by so many healthcare workers and first responders who are caring for the sick and the elderly. And some of these patients are within the extended DeMatha family and within our own families. May we never lose sight of the need for us to be people of gratitude who are not afraid to thank you as our God, to thank those important people in our daily lives, and to thank those people in our own personal history from DeMatha, living and deceased, for their dedication to the mission of our school. Bless this evening, bless this season, and may we all continue to follow the devotion and model of our school patron, St. John DeMatha. And we ask all this in the name of Christ our Lord. Can I have an amen? Amen.
Amen.
St. John DeMatha, pray for
Pray
us.
for us.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Thank you, Father. We're going to call on Bill McGregor now to just tell us what he hopes will be a football season here in the early spring. And of course, tomorrow we'll all be watching DeMatha grad Chase Young play for the Washington team against the Cowboys at 4:30 tomorrow. So Bill, welcome aboard. You have to unmute yourself, Bill, I think.
There you go. Sorry about that. Technology, I'm getting better day by day. Thank you, Tommy. First off, I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. And I hope you enjoy celebrating it tomorrow, however it may look. Again, please stay safe in everything you're doing. I want to thank you, our DeMatha alumni, for all of your support of all of our athletic teams. Believe me, you are the absolute best. And I really want to thank you especially for the support you have given our football program. Again, we would not have the kind of football program we do if it was not for you. So again, thank you. Thank you so much for all the things you do in person and also behind the things. You're the absolute best. This year, we are having a year like no other, as everybody knows. And, it's been unbelievable dealing with it from day to day. And I just cannot thank and appreciate our players and our coaches for their coping with the year as they are. I'll give you one example in terms of what's happened. During an 8-day stretch, we're following all the COVID guideline rules and things along those lines in the state of Maryland and also in Prince George's County. But during an 8-day stretch on a Tuesday, we were allowed to have 50 guys on the field. Then it changed to that Thursday where we can only have 20 guys on the field. Then it changed again that following Tuesday where we were allowed to have 100 guys on the field. So again, you can see how topsy-turvy it has been just trying to organize practice and getting the guys to practice and just doing the little things that you just normally take for granted. But again, the football team has just done a tremendous job, and I'm just so proud of each and every member of the team for everything they're doing. To the coaches, I'm going to say thank you to you for all your dedication, your sacrifice, your commitment that you've been exhibiting since we started practice way back in August. I mean, you guys have been absolutely fantastic and putting yourselves in so many different situations and coping with everything. So again, thank you, coaches. And also I'd like to thank Wendy. Wendy's our mother of DeMatha football and the training staff at DeMatha for everything they've been doing. I mean, they've just been absolutely fantastic in terms of making sure our temperature checks have been done properly and our social distancing has been done properly. And, making sure that everything has been going back and forth to the field the way we're supposed to do it and doing it the right way. So again, Wendy and her staff, thank you so much. As of right now, we are scheduled to open the season in terms of practice on February the 15th, which is an unusual date. We're used to that August 2-a-days, but so it's gonna be a little bit different there. Our first ball game is scheduled for March 12th. We're supposed to open up against Gonzaga. It's supposed to be our home game, so I have no idea how that's going to look. But I know one thing: the guys can be excited to play, and we can't wait for the opportunity to play DeMatha football again. Hopefully, it can happen. So again, it's been a topsy-turvy year. It's been up and down, but you know, it's like everyone else, we're making something negative into a positive, and the guys have been doing a great job. And I'm just so happy for the way they've been coping, the way they've been working, and the support we've had from everyone. Our school administration with Father James and Dr. McMahon and the entire administration has been absolutely fantastic. So again, I want to thank everyone for their support and everything that has happened to make our program the way it is. And hopefully we'll be able to play football shortly in March. Again, hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving, and thank you for everything.
All right, Bill, thank you. Bill told me this fall was the first time since 1960 in which he was not involved in a fall with football games that he was involved in. We're going to bring on Mike Jones now. Mike Jones, I don't think we got the appropriate recognition he deserved at the end of February last year. Not only did we win a conference title, but he won his 500th game. So congratulations, Mike. Great job. And why don't you come in here and talk a little bit about basketball?
Thanks, Tom. Yeah, I kind of feel like, not me, but I kind of feel like our kids got robbed of a normal celebration of a championship. We had a great season last year. I do want to reiterate what everyone has said so far. You know, hopefully everyone is staying safe during this time. There's so many of people that I would like to thank. So I'm just going to piggyback on Coach McGregor, but I do want to say something really, I think, incredibly important before I kind of talk about our program. You know, there's a lot of places, restaurants, businesses, even schools that will not make it to the other side of this pandemic. And I know you all on here have done such a tremendous job of supporting DeMatha over your years. And I know Tom and Brendan and Father and Dr. McMahon did not ask me to say this, but I am going to say it. If you can just make sure that you continue to support us as a school and as a school community, it is so important. DeMatha has withstood a lot of things over the years, and many of you guys know those things. But most importantly, we want to make sure that we are still standing as strong as ever when we get to the other side of this. And we know that we cannot do that without you all support. So I want to say thank you for everything that you've already done, but encourage you as much as you can to continue to keep us in your prayers, keep our school and our entire school community, including yourselves, in your prayers. But then also, if possible, to just continue to support. That $75 that our Father just mentioned, again, if we all can do that, that will go a long way to continue to allow us to do what we do within the community in the state of Maryland and the DMV and Prince George's County. So I just want to encourage everybody to continue to do that. I do know that there's multiple guys that have been in our program and currently in our program that would not be able to be at DeMatha if it were not for the support of people like you. So I want to say thank you to that. Kind of like Bill, you know, our normal preparation has just gone out of the window. You know, we've gone from being able to practice with 8 guys at a time with their own basketball. They can't pass the ball to each other, so it's strictly just drill work, to you know being able to actually pass it to each other for a few days. And then when the numbers started going back up, we had to go back to the old way. We have not been able to compete at all. No 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3, 5-on-5. So, you know, we're trying to kind of evaluate our guys, but there's really no real way to do that. Our guys are like just going crazy with themselves, trying to figure out a way to be able to play. You know, there's so many other places that are not following, you know, the regulations that have been put forth, and it kind of puts the schools in a bad spot because, you know, we're following the rules, but then our kids can go somewhere else and play with a club team or something like that, that they don't have to follow the rules. So, you know, we're just praying that our schedule is allowed to happen. As of right now, which I totally expect to change, but as of right now, we actually can start practicing on December 10th. And then we can start playing on January 4th. That is the last word that we got, but I do not expect that to stay the same. I expect that to be moved back even further. There's talk of there not even being a WCAC championship this year. They figure we're going to win it anyway, so they'll just kind of leave that out for everybody else to kind of feel like they had a part in it. So I'm joking, obviously, but I think ultimately, we're going to do everything we can to have some type of season. I've got 3 seniors that we expect to be on this year's team. One of them is already committed to UConn. The other 2, they need the season. They need the season to be able to, get their scholarships. And then a year from now, and Coach Brey, I'm sure, can speak to this a little bit, with, the 1-year sit out for transfers probably going away, with everybody being granted an extra year of eligibility. A lot of schools aren't really looking to sign seniors right now because they know that they might be able to get a transfer from another school. So, I'm really worried about my seniors and my juniors, and every opportunity I get to put them on the floor against someone else so that we can get film will help me do my job in terms of helping them get into school. So, we're praying for a season. I ask for you to join us in praying so that, we can continue to turn on the TV every Saturday, every Sunday, and every 5 days of the normal week, and being able to see a Stag represent our community so well. So thank you for the time, Tom. I'm glad that we get to do this. And obviously, normally I'd be coming over in about 20 minutes from our smoker scrimmage that would have started at 4 o'clock today. So, obviously crazy times, but I'm glad to be able to see all your faces.
All right, thank you, Mike. We're going to bring on our special guest, or we'll start with our first guest and then bring on his partner in crime in a minute, and that is Mike Brey, class of 1977. So when Notre Dame plays its first game at Michigan State on Saturday night at 8 o'clock on the Big Ten Network, and when Mike Brey takes the floor, he will be the longest serving men's basketball coach in Notre Dame history on Saturday night. He's the most successful coach in Notre Dame men's basketball history. We've always been very proud of Mike Brey. And Mike, welcome. You're muted, Mike. You got to unmute yourself.
Hey.
Hold on. You're still muted there, Mike. Okay, now you're good. Go ahead.
I'm good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? It's so great to see so many familiar faces. And man, I wouldn't miss the smoker for anything. I think I'm still recovering from smokers gone by 30, 40 years ago. Because I never made curfew, Strickland and I, at the smoker. I had one smoker flashback. We had Joe Jacoby as the speaker. Bill, you probably remember this. And true to form, a few of our alums were a little overserved and were on him while he was speaking. He was a little overserved too. And he started walking down the aisle ready to fight about 15 guys. And we didn't know what to do with it because he's 350 pounds. And that was one of my many smoker flashbacks. But on a serious note, we're all in crisis management. There's no question about it. And when I look at the leadership of my alma mater and DeMatha High School, from the coaches, and Bill and Mike, and to our administration, my God, are we in great hands? And we need to be in great hands. To piggyback on what Mike said, we need to be in great hands. And the one thing that's been so neat to watch, and I'm confident of it, is our people will deliver. They will, they have to. And it tugs at the heart a little bit to see you guys, jammed up and not being able to work with your kids. I've been blessed that we've been at least practicing with our guys for the last couple months, and we're going to jump into playing games here, as Tom said, on Saturday night, and we're going to try this thing. And I sure hope that football and basketball and school can get going again. But the bond that DeMatha has is staggering, and now more than ever, man, do we need it. And so I emphasize again what Mike and Father James and Bill and Tom had said. We need everybody to keep supporting, and it's crunch time. Like, we're at the foul line having to make big free throws every freaking day, right? That's where we're at right now. And so anyways, it's an honor to be with everybody, and many, many memories of Smoker and Stag Night going by. There's no question about it, from the scrimmage to how many times did we stand in that back corner in the bar back there and discuss the scrimmage while things were going on. And so I'm glad that we could connect in this form, at least. And again, I applaud, DeMatha moving forward on a daily basis the best they can. So I don't even know what Strickland's got up his sleeve, Tom. That's what I'm worried about.
All right. Well, what we wanted to do, Mike, is I know, you get asked a lot of the same questions all the time, and I have some questions, and we'll get to those too.
Sure.
But we really wanted this to be sort of a story thing. And so we're going to bring Pete on here. So Pete, you can unmute yourself. But Mike, I got to talk about that shirt. You got that Lido shirt you're wearing there, right?
Well, you sent me the article, and say it ain't so. Somebody, you said maybe the original one is going to shut down, or Tommy Marcos is selling his side of it, I guess.
Yes.
So I thought it was only fitting to represent where a lot of Coach Wootten, we had a lot of X's and O's on placemats with pepperoni grease and pre-cooked bacon grease that we'd open up the next day in his office, press break against St. John's 1-2-2 delay press. How to attack Mac in zone, always in a flare, always written in a flare, right? Never a ballpoint pen. I made that mistake as his assistant for 2 years. He said, Mike, you got a pen? I gave him a ballpoint pen the first year. He almost fired me. So I always had a pocket full of flares. Mike Jones knows what I'm talking about. So yeah, I thought I'd represent a little bit. But the pizza oven's still there, right? The original ovens. Nobody, Coach Big Woo was so convinced. He would always say, Mike, those are the original pizza ovens that made the transition. So we're going to be okay with the pizza. He swore by it. God bless him.
So, Mike, you coach at Notre Dame, and Pete coached the Irish as well as the Irish national coach. But Pete, didn't you have a response to that?
Well, Tom, yes. I think it's nice that Mike coaches at university. That's great. I coached the country. Actually, so Mike, you hinted at the smoker. I thought this would be a great opportunity for us as soon as Father James leaves, for us to start this class action suit against the Matha. Not only with the smoker, with all the smoke that we all inhaled over the years, but anybody and many of us who work bingo. So I think it's an easy win, really, for the class action suit relative to our long at this point. And this is a great chance to get everybody together to you'll see here in the chat, we should all be a lot richer. So get to 75. Get to 75 because we're gonna get it.
Well, Jeff Hathaway texted me last night, and I know Jeff's joining us. He said, in true Morgan Wootten form, there will be no honorarium tonight for your guest appearance. And maybe I'm going to get a gold stag. How many gold stags did we collect over the years, Pete, from speaking at camp or coming back to speak at the clinic or whatever, through 7 of them.
Every corner of my house. Well, Tom's moving. I don't know where Tom's moving.
Well, we were getting too much feedback, so I had to move out of the same room with you, so I had to move to a different room.
And by the way, we got a room where, again, in the spirit of it, gentlemen, I would hope that when you guys finish and you go outside, let's keep this thing going. So I'll Mike, let me kick it off with a story that, Mike, you'll remember as I get into it. So this speaks to Morgan, who we're honoring here tonight. So Mike and I were assistants for Morgan, and it was my first year back, and Morgan had promised Mike and I that we would get a chance to spend some time with John Wooden. you know, the legendary coach from UCLA, whom Morgan was a dear friend of, and vice versa. So the McDonald's game that year was in Philly, and they asked us to come up. Morgan said, "Listen, we've got about a 25-minute window, Mike. You and Pete, would you guys like to come up and spend some time with Coach Wooden?" And we, yeah. Well, Sunday morning would be it. So the semifinals were that Saturday, the NCAA Final Four, and we had a window like between 10 and 10:25. So we hopped in Mike's Toyota Celica, just barely beat my Ford Pinto, so it won the honor of taking us up to Philly. And we get up to Philly, and we're there ready to speak to John Wooden. And it's myself, and John Wooden's across from me, and then Morgan and Mike are on my two flanks. And we start talking about the semifinals. And that year, Vegas, UNLV had played Indiana in the semis. And Vegas had a guy named Mark Wade who led the nation in assists. And Bobby Knight kind of dared him to shoot. He wouldn't shoot. He was a nation leader in assists. Bobby Knight just didn't guard him because he felt like he wouldn't shoot. And he didn't shoot. Consequently, Indiana won the game. So we're talking about the games. And I start waxing on about, that's ridiculous. I mean, you got to shoot the ball. You just can't stand there and not shoot the ball. I mean, they were daring him to shoot, and he wouldn't shoot. And John Wooden, next thing you know, is about this close to me. And he says, well, why would you do that? You got to dance with who brung you. That's what made them champions in the first place. That's how they got to the Final Four. And a little bit more, and very pointed. And he would have been out of coaching, what, Mike, 10 years at that point, probably?
Yeah,
at
about
least?
10, yeah.
Yeah. And well, again, that was early on the 20, 25-minute conversation. And as we walked away, Mike says, "Hey, Pete, I didn't hear much. I did not hear much more from you there. You know, after you talked about Mark Wade, what happened?"
Well, I can still, you got to remember the seating arrangement. Coach Morgan and I were facing each other. And when you went into your thing, we looked at each other like, oh my gosh, here he goes.
Yeah, I got kind of quiet. Thanks a lot, Mike. Thanks a lot.
Oh no, great. That's a great one, man. That is a great memory. And
I guess we don't have to wonder why he won, 9 national championships. I guess it's pretty clear now.
yeah, no. Well, Father James mentioned the good old antler room. And, as I was thinking about the smoker today, you can't help but thinking about the many bingos we had to maneuver. And, I still have obviously Notre Dame's pretty well endowed, but I always can rib these people out here in development, Father James, when I say, hey, if we have to go back to running bingos, I've got experience. I can go back and run a bingo in the Joyce Center if we have to. And, my God, do we have some memories?
Although legendarily, Mike, you did buy out your last 6 bingos when you went to Duke.
Bought them out. And I always wondered, Coach Bill went from selling the tickets like you and me to calling the numbers. And I never made that jump. Did you ever? We never made that jump to calling the numbers. Did Zwolak make that call? How the hell did you get that job?
Right. Well, we have Bill muted there. I'm sorry. Bill, you're muted.
I'm sorry. Not every, you have a special deal I made with Coach Wolak, right? Not everybody can say, welcome to DeMatha Bingo. Before we begin play, let me read to you the rules of the house. No one under 18 years of age may play. We will begin play with. So I had pretty good experience. I had to practice a lot in order to get there, but it's still ingrained in my head in terms of how we begin and how we go from there,
What a promotion, Bill. What a promotion. I'm still jealous. Jealous.
Shake them up, slow them down. You're calling too fast, and I need more mustard and more ketchup and more relish. And you're not calling the right numbers anymore.
Bill, I was not popular because I used to call out free space.
Right.
And I know we put those, Father James, I know we put those smoke eaters up in the antler room, but man, I don't know if they ever work. My breathing is, forget COVID. My breathing from working and selling tickets in the antler room when those ladies used to. It was a couple packs a night, wasn't it?
Oh
yeah.
That was at the least end of it.
And you know what? I think I'm still scarred. If I gave them the wrong change back, they would rip me up one side and down another. No coach ever got on me like those ladies, right, Pete, when you gave them the wrong change back in the other room.
Oh, my God. And they didn't like you calling free space. But when Mike bought out his last 6 bingos, he was like you guys remember the final scene of An Officer and a Gentleman? When Richard Gere comes in, takes Deborah Winger out of the Boeing factory? That was what it was like watching Mike leave that day. Murph and I just sat there going, God, if only we could do that.
Yeah,
Well,
12
you know, Mike, you're wearing a Lido shirt there, but when you got the job at Duke, though, you finalized the deal at the famous S&J Lounge in Riverdale. Is that right?
We did, and Mike Krzyzewski is still scarred from hanging out at the S&J, Bill. Mike, it was unbelievable. About 3 months after I was working for her down in Durham, he grabbed me one day. We were on the road recruiting. He said, Mike, can I ask you a question? I said, yeah, what's up, coach? He said, does Morgan take everybody to the S&J when they come in town? Is that where he talks to all the coaches? I think a fight broke out at the one bar and somebody was fighting out in the parking lot and, the typical S&J scuttlebutt. But I said, yeah, that's kind of the spot. We would do our coaches meetings there and every Wednesday after school leading up to the preseason. I know Mike Jones knows this, which was so great for a young coach. And Pete remembers this, we would meet after school there and we'd all have to present on a topic, and I think Pete, I think I still have my presentation of jump balls because we used to have a jump ball after every quarter. I was so excited to present jump ball alignments.
And Mike, I can tell you this.
He would pop a Miller Lite right there across from us and pull the flare out. And those were our coaches meetings. And my God, were we blessed to be there and be mentored and have to present and be on the spot.
Well, Mike, I can tell you this now. Your jump ball presentation was a little long. I didn't want to tell you then. But because you were so excited, Mike.
I was so excited.
Yeah, I had out of bounds plays from the 3/4 court, so my topic was also kind of smart. You didn't give us a lot that first year.
Oh, the S&J, and then the back room at the original Lido's. Obviously, after games, a lot of business was done. And Pete, you'll remember this. And I was thinking about so many memories today. The college coaches would come in and, they'd be recruiting. They'd come in and sit with us and, you'd pick their brain. It was unbelievable. And coach would always sign the tab, right? He'd sign the tab and everybody, enough for what was the redheaded waitress's name that we were all scared of?
Marge, right?
Marge, right, Bill? Marge. Oh my God. She never smiled. We were scared to death of her. But Dick Tarrant, the Richmond coach at the time, and if you could get on coach's wrong side, Coach Wooten's wrong side. The man had the shortest arms, the alligator arms, Bill. He would never go and throw anything in the middle for Marge. And the next day we would get Coach Wooten going like, can you believe the Richmond coach? He can't even throw $5 in there for the waitress. And he could not let it go. Dick Tarrant could not let it go. Or Morgan could not let it go on Coach Tarrant.
Well, and Morgan did have Marge kind of deliver the tab sometimes very strategically right next to one of those new eager to please young assistants.
Yes.
State. Put it right near his elbow. And of course, miraculously, that young guy trying to win friends and influence people take care of the bill.
Yes,
What a surprise.
no question.
What a surprise.
There were some strategic tabs being handled. My memory was, Bob Ferry, Big Bob and Rita Ferry would come in there and, thank God you had Bob around, even though if you tried to hang with him past curfew, you were in trouble, right? He was all tournament every night, all tournament.
So Pete and Mike, Pete tells me that you all one time went up to Cumberland and you found out by accident you had the same hotel room.
Well, yeah. So we had made the pitch to Morgan. We thought we had worked pretty hard. Mike was tirelessly working with Morgan on the varsity, and I was JV and head coach as Mike had been, and then varsity assistant. And we felt like we earned the right, maybe, possibly, sort of, to perhaps invite our wives up to Cumberland. So Morgan said this was on a Monday, and we all know Cumberland we'd leave on Wednesday. And Morgan said, well, let me think about it. So, of course, we get home every night. Our wives, hey, can we go? Morgan's, he's working it through. Tuesday night, hey, can we go? We'll find out. Anyways, Wednesday, it must have been Wednesday morning. Hey, listen, you guys want to bring your wives? No problem. Oh, this is great. This is awesome. So our wives work, half the day. We go up Wednesday, but we're in the same room Wednesday, but that's just that first night, of course. And then Thursday, our wives work half a day, and then they come up to join us. And as they tell it, they get to we're at our game, our first Thursday night game. We're already up there on the hill. And our wives, as they tell it, they get there and they're like, oh, great, we're both on the third floor. Oh, that's great. Get off the elevator, go to the third floor. This is great. I'm in 312. Oh, no, you can't be in 312. I'm in 312. No. It must be 321. No, it's 312. Morgan was so kind to us. Jeff, you know this, Jeff Hathaway. He thought for 2 days about letting us share a room, the four of us. 2 days?
And one of the great memories is Mary Catherine at the time was teaching at Regina, right, Pete? I think she was teaching at Seton or Regina. She was teaching at somewhere.
Lorraine.
She was teaching at Lorraine. That's right. And we had to all be quiet at about 8 a.m. on that Thursday morning because she was fake calling in sick. They're like, everybody, shh, everybody keep it down. And she's like, excuse me.
Right.
Oh, the memories of Cumberland. Oh my gosh. And great memories, great memories. And the old hospitality room in Cumberland.
Pete, you were muted. You have muted yourself, Pete.
Remember when Bobby Hill stole the keys to the car and drove up there to the van, drove up to Cumberland so fast? Remember that? That was so unlike Bobby.
So, Mike, a couple people have submitted questions in advance, and I'd like to just ask a couple of them, and
Sure.
Pete can chime in as well. The first, though, was just a comment that was submitted by Dutch Morley, the class of '78. And he said, Mike, you were slated to be the starting point guard in the 76-77 season, your senior year. You got mono. I became the starter. Thank you, Mike. That's from
Hey.
Dutch Morley.
Well, you know what? I was the third point guard on that team as a senior, but Dutch and Sidney Lowe were junior and sophomore, and I was a distant third in talent. I would say, Coach McGregor, it was only a matter of time before I got beat out by two great guards.
So this question here is from Rob Lawrence, class of '70, and it's a couple of questions, but this is to Mike. How have the NBA draft rules, NCAA rules, the changes affected the way you think about building, sustaining your program? If you could recruit 3 one-and-dones in the same year, would you do it? Could you repeat it? Is it worth it? So he wants to know about the NCAA rules, how that has affected you and your program, and about one-and-dones.
Hey, Mike,
Yeah,
Mike, before you answer that question, does Rob Lawrence work for an ACC school?
He may be a blogger, a Notre Dame blogger. And
No, but Mike, I did have 2 daughters go to Duke, a place you're pretty familiar with. So I lived through the Duke transition from the old days where everybody went 4 years to the one and done. So
how do your daughters feel about those kids that just park in there for 8 months?
we don't remember any of them. We don't know any of them anymore. It's like, it's not like the old days.
It's a different world. For us, our mission, and Jaron Grant is a great example. Our mission has been more of 4, and in his case, 5-year guys. The one and done is probably not going to be a great fit for us. That's not saying there's not a place for them, and we certainly have to play against them. But we've kind of chosen with the mission of our place to build it that way and kind of try and stay older. But, many people are, and Duke obviously has gone, that route. Kentucky certainly, does that. And it's, I don't know. I just think we're a throwback from, and that's our mission. And It's a mission from Father John Jenkins. I don't think if we tried to do that, I don't think we could do it. I don't think it's a great fit. And those young phenoms have places to go. There's places for them. And of course, some of them are going to be going out of high school soon anyways. You know, that rule will swing again. So it has been different, you know, with Duke, certainly, you know, to kind of keep track of their roster year to year, you know, because it does change over quickly. But we're going to stay with, you know, 4 and 5 year guys and try and grow them and get them old. And hopefully you hit enough of the rotation of having some older experienced guys 3 out of 5 years, 4 out of 5 years, where you can, you know, get an NCAA tournament bid. And when it lines up, maybe you can make a run.
So this question is from Kevin Davis, class of '87, the former Baltimore Police Commissioner. And he said to both Pete and you both coached with Morgan with John Gwynn, class of '87. It has been rumored John was one of Morgan's favorite players of all time. What made John so special?
Well, a great story with John Gwynn, and I've told Mike Jones this many times when I'm watching a workout, is John comes as a 9th grader. I'm the JV coach. And the JV, you know, practices after the varsity, and we get done, Morgan and I with the varsity. And he was so good when Morgan would come out of the office there in the corner, Bill, and come out and we'd be in JV practice, we would stop going 5-on-5, because as he walked through the gym, I did not want him to see how good John Gwynn was, because he would have pulled him up on varsity. He would have taken him. And he finally got to a JV game, probably against Carroll, early one time. He got there early and he saw the 4th quarter and John was in, you know, Michael Jordan, LeBron mode. And he grabbed me the next day. He said, "Hey, Mike, you didn't tell me how good a prospect John Gwynn is." I said, "Well, Coach, you know, he needs to be with his guys and he's getting to start," and the whole sales pitch. But he was a great high school player, became a great, and you know what? He's a heck of a basketball official right now. He's really good basketball official, but a neat kid, a great story. But man, I had to hide him out so Morgan wouldn't snatch him off my JV.
So Kevin had one more question here, and that is, can Mike Brey estimate the average weight of the film strip reels he used to have defensive linemen from the football team deadlift onto the projector for his junior history classes?
You know, I give a lot of credit to Jack Bruin, God rest his soul, because he stocked up the film strip video AV department in the library before he left to go to Carroll. And Joe Cantafio continued to build that depth. And man, did I take advantage of it, you know, and thank God for the film strip on Wednesday after a night at Lido's, Tuesday after a game, because there wasn't a whole lot you could get through. And so thank God for film strips. And then at the end of my career, you know, with history, the videos started coming in. So man, we had it covered.
But you also, I think you had Pete entered your class one day while playing golf. Is that right, Pete?
You know, Pete Strickland as our golf coach, and I was down in that. I know Father James probably knows this, and you mentioned John Moylan. God bless him. I learned so much. I learned a lot from Morgan. I learned so much watching John Moylan as an educator when I was 23 years old and how he handled situations. I'm glad you mentioned him, Father James. I miss him, and just a hell of a man. But there was a reason why Smitty, myself, Chuck White, were all teaching on the first floor, probably, right? I mean, they put us all down there in the basement and hit us out down there. And the windows were open one spring, and Pete Strickland plays through. Golf ball comes flying in about 2:30. Last period, lands in the middle. We clear the desks out. We move everybody out, move the desk, don't touch his lie, don't improve his lie. And Pete climbs through the window with a 9-iron, and he chips it out the door into the hallway in the first floor and plays down the hallway. And there's still 10 students from that class are probably looking around going, did that really happen? What the heck was that? And we kept ourselves loose and sane back in those days. Bill knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Pete, you don't have anything you want to add to that story?
No, I mean, is Mike questioning the choice of a 9-iron? I thought it was the right club.
Well, I thought you remember, you said that there was a kid though who acted very well, right? He had to give you the spot or
Well,
something. to that effect?
well, at the end, Mike and I are, first of all, I thought John was going to fire me on the spot. I was already, in a little bit of hot water anyway. And he comes walking down the hall. I'm coming up the ramp at the far end near the monastery. And he comes walking up, Pete. And I'm like, oh man, this might be it. This might be it. Pete, I need to talk to you. Yeah, figured he did. And I'm all the way into my excuse, which is complete fiction. And he goes, hey, listen. If you do that again, you got to let me know. We get a picture put in the yearbook. But yeah, so Mike and I are laughing about it later. And he goes, Pete, where'd you get the guy? I said, what do you mean? What guy? He says, where'd you get the caddy? I said, I just gave it to a guy who was in the hallway, underclassman. He had a blue jacket. And I goes, Pete, he was unbelievable. I said, what do you mean? He goes, before he gave you the club, when you asked for the club, he goes, he cleaned it. I don't know who he is, but if he's on this call, thank you. I didn't see it because I just kept looking at my line. Mike said, no, he cleaned the club. He was awesome. He was in character.
One of the great scenes, and there, as we know, Coach Strick, there were some amazing scenes by you. That was one of the all-time one. I'm thinking back to the first floor. How the heck did Mary Yarish get put down there with us? That poor woman. She got put down there with all of us. One of the best teachers ever.
Maybe to keep the guys under control. That was a tough floor with Smitty and you, Dan Ewens.
Well, it always, and I've gotten to connect with his sons, but as we know, little did I know I'd end up in South Bend, Indiana, but Smitty had that Notre Dame jacket on every day, getting out and so proud of his Irish and talking about his Irish. And by the time I got here, his health was not good, but his sons have come out a bunch. And it's been really neat to talk, about him walking down the hall and, of course, calling everybody Coacher. What's up, Coacher? Coacher, how we doing, Coacher?
So Mike Brey, you told me that at GW, Pete showed up to a practice on Halloween your senior year.
Yeah, this is, we all know Coach Strick may have missed his calling, man. I mean, the guy. So I'm walking to practice at the Smith Center one morning, Saturday morning scrimmage. I have to deal with Jerry Gimelstob for 2 hours. God rest his soul. But, he was a tough one. And I'm looking up ahead. It's Halloween morning, and there is someone dressed in an Abraham Lincoln costume standing in front of the gym. Now I'm out of it. I'm walking. I probably had a couple beers at the 21st Amendment down there on M Street the night before. And I'm walking up and I'm going, I get about 24 yards away and I'm like, oh shit, it's Pete. It's my guy. And he's holding court. He's probably has 25 GW students around him. And he, in a serious tone, is basically giving a speech. How come there's not a university named after me? I understand George Washington University, but no Abraham Lincoln University here in Washington, D.C. And students are debating him, and I'm standing in the back going, my guy. I mean, I wish we had the video cell phones back then, because you know how much Strickland stuff we would have captured, Tom? It'd have been unbelievable. It may not have been safe, Pete, either, for either one of us.
I thought it was a great point.
It was a great point.
Great point.
So Pete, is there any way to tell somewhat succinctly, but we got to mention it, and that is the Maryland All-Stars coming over to Ireland. That's a long story, but I don't know if there's just one way to talk about Mike Brey's participation in that.
Mike was the GM. I mean, this is where his leadership kicked in. I mean, we needed a team in Ireland. I was playing over there professionally. And we needed a team over there. And so, my first call is to Mike and Bill Rubeck, and come on, guys, I need a team, because we had thought about bringing over a Division III team to play in the tournament. And that didn't work. Nobody wanted to, kind of hedge against their team getting in the NCAA because it was going to be during St. Patrick's Day week. And, in short shrift, Mike just organized the team. Mike and Bill Ruback organized the team. And, all the other teams were real teams, and this team met at Kennedy Airport. And so, no team picture, just Mike and the guy that was on the team with him, Jim Hoops, with the same singlet from Southwest Louisiana. I'm sorry, Mike. All right, Northwest Louisiana, Northwest Louisiana.
Northwest, yep.
Western state, sorry. And that was, so that was unique. They came over. So it's hard to summarize. I'll let Mike give it a try, but just one thought will tell you how good the week was. Paul DeVito, a fellow DeMatha alumnus, was also on the trip. Bill Ruback, class of 75. Paul was what, 78, Tom?
78.
Yes.
Yep. Great basketball player, one of the best players DeMatha ever saw. So anyways, so the exciting thing for me was I secured them a free week in Ireland, free round trip over and back, room and board for a week at the hotel, play in the tournament. And then also I made sure I got them where it was an open-ended return. So they could stay as long as they wanted after the week. So, free round trip, but if you want to stay 2 weeks, you have your vacation. One of my fellow teammates from Pitt, it was right after they got married. Hey, you can have your honeymoon over here. Well, let me tell you how good a week it was. They all went back after a week. That's a good week. That's a good week.
The great, so we land, we pick up Pete's mom and bring Pete's mom over. We land on the tarmac, we're walking out, and Pete comes running up about in front of his delegation. All the people like, wow, these are the Maryland All-Stars slapped together in like a week. And we made up all these, our record and who we beat. We haven't played a game. Pete comes up, he goes, Mike, remember, you guys have been playing together for a year. I go, I got it. I got it. And so we jump in, we beat this is, and Pete rebuilt the Irish national program. But when we were there, we beat the Irish national team in the first game. That's how down they were. And DeVito missed curfew and Ruback missed curfew. And we beat the Irish national team in Cork. And then we lost at the buzzer. Ruback couldn't out jump a 6'2" guy because he missed curfew. And we lost at the buzzer. And that guy still drinks for free in Cork, I hear. He's like bigger than life because he thought he beat Team USA or something.
John Cooney. Famous John Cooney. Yes.
Cooney drinks for free. There's a ballot, folks. There's a ballot called John Cooney drinks for free.
Now, it was one of the great trips ever. And I still had eligibility. So then Jerry Gimelstob gets the job. Bob Talent was fired. We didn't have a coach. I said, I'm going to hell with it. I'm playing. And I come back. I had to sit out the first 3 games of my senior year. The NCAA made me sit out because they found out I went to Ireland, expense paid, like an airline ticket.
Rod, bandit. Rod is a bandit. You're working for a bandit, Rod.
So, Mike, the coming season here, I see that you had a game scheduled with Tennessee now, and that's going to be called off. And I'm also curious, do you think, I know you have a transfer in your program, do you think he will play for you this year?
I think he will. I think eventually these transfers that are under the resident sit out are eventually going to get eligible somehow. And it may not be till January because, as Mike Jones alluded to, the transfer rule and the year in residency, the old sit out rule, is going to go away in January. So I think at the latest, I think all those kids that aren't eligible are going to be eligible. I'm hoping we can get him eligible quicker. I don't think he's going to be eligible Saturday night up in East Lansing. Our Tennessee game, obviously, we lost Rick Barnes, COVID, and some of the players. We're trying to add IPFW, which is a mid-major down in Fort Wayne. And scheduling's been unbelievable. We're just, every day something can happen and you're trying to slide somebody in. And we have 27 games on the schedule. We're not going to play 27, but God, I hope we can play a good number of them. Our kids just need to play. And Mike and Bill can really relate to this. Your kids have not been able to compete and have a game day situation. We've been in preseason training since mid-August. we just need to play. We need to play some other people, and we practice in masks. They never complain about it. You know, they've been really good about living off campus, and it's
Hey, Mike, what about the Maryland All-Star?
yeah. They could be available, couldn't they? We could fly them out here next weekend.
Mike, there is something significant that you are doing though, and I think you and Notre Dame deserves a lot of credit. So you're coming, right now, the plan is to come to DC on Martin Luther King Day,
Yeah.
just a couple days before the inauguration and play. I mean, it usually never happens. A school like Notre Dame goes and plays, you know, at a school like Howard, right? It doesn't go that way generally. And the coach is Kenny Blakeney, DeMatha class of 1990, who Mike recruited to Duke years ago. So take that away, Mayor Mike.
Yeah, no, it's you know, when Kenny got the job, we talked about doing a home and home to help him. And because he's family, Kenny's like a son to me, and he was on my staff at Delaware and stayed in close touch with him, and he got the Howard job. We're really proud of him, and he's got really good momentum. And so we were going to play there eventually on an MLK Day, but given what went on this summer in Minneapolis and whereabouts, and really how that's been a discussion, you know, amongst our team, and it's as a teacher, you know, to kind of lead them through it and have them express themselves on what's going on in our country and our world. I thought the best way to do it was for us to go there and play. And it's going to be a Fox national TV game. Gus Johnson is a Howard grad. He's going to call the game. And the game's going to be important. Don't get me wrong. And we want to play like heck and try and win. But there's going to be some really kind of cool things we can do around it. And you're right. I mean, the Power 5 schools don't play at HBCU campuses. I tried to get the whole league to do it. When we did it back in June, I tried to drag the ACC with me. I wasn't met with they weren't real comfortable with that, but the hell with them, in my opinion. And maybe we'll drag them with us down the road, but we're going to do it. And, you know, Kenny obviously will be running the program. And again, coming to DC, I hope we can get there. I know how strict it is in Washington, and hopefully we can do that at MLK Day.
And Mike allowed me to do this. And Mike, I appreciate you letting me be the one to present this. And Mike said for everybody on this call, everybody gets 2 tickets to the 2,400 seat Burr Gymnasium. So everybody on this call, 2 tickets. Mike, what a great gesture.
Yeah, just get them in.
Just email Mike at noway.com.
Yeah, I don't know what it'll be with crowd, but we're going to try. We're going to try and do it. But yeah, we're excited. You're watching games today. I know probably some of you are. Just seeing college basketball going is cool. And we're going to play it. We're going to go up to East Lansing, and we got a heck of a challenge out of the gate at Michigan State. And then we still have Kentucky on the road and an ACC home game against Duke here in mid-December, and Syracuse on the 20th. You know, my feeling was, let's just play a great schedule and give the kids an unbelievable experience and let them compete. And I think Saturday night, I'll be emotional just when they take the floor to play, to break the ice and be in uniform. And there'll be no fans in the Breslin Center at Michigan State. No parents are allowed up there. The state of Michigan is really shut down. We're going to allow parents at Notre Dame, but our kids have been great. I mean, they've been really trying, and you know, unlike the DeMatha football and basketball, they've been together though, and really, it's been unbelievable therapy for me as much as them. You know, just to be in with them, teaching, and them to be around each other. It's been really powerful. So we're gonna give it a shot, man, and go play and have fun with it.
So Tom, let me give Mike a break and let's honor Morgan. All of us, so many of us on this call, we had him in class, or you know, we were touched by him in other ways. Jeff Hathaway worked for him for 4 years, such a close friend, and Neil Murphy, the longest tenured assistant for Morgan. So this is a story that Mike will certainly recall, and it's, you know, I always said that Morgan could have, guys, and I think many of us share this opinion, I think he could have cured the common cold. You know, he was just a brilliant guy. You know, he loved Bill coming along and taking the football reins from him, and was so proud of Mike taking over with Neil when Mike took over for Morgan. And so his intelligence, you know, of course, we know he ran a camp, and it was a very successful camp. And Morgan had one of the first radio shows on, you know, relative to basketball in the DC area for years and years. And it was 6 to 7. And Mike and I would be dispatched, might be late winter or early spring, to call in. And Mike would be asked to call in at 6:15, and I would be asked to call in at 6:45, or vice versa. And Mike would call in at 6:15. Morgan's there in his radio show talking about DC area sports, mostly basketball. Mike would say, Coach, Mike from Rockville, do you have a camp? And Morgan would get about 3 minutes in about his camp. And of course, I would have to call at 6:45. And Jeff, I'm sure you had to do this. Murph, I know you did. And I would call at 6:45 and, hey, Coach, just tuning in, Pete from Riverdale. Do you still run that camp?
Right.
He was the best, gentlemen. He was the best.
So
So
ahead
Mike,
of
we
ahead
talked
of
about this, Mike, that I know we're about to conclude here, and you're probably going to go scout your opponent right now.
Tom, Jesus.
Now, I promised Mike, he's probably going to go scout his opponent, right? Aren't they on TV?
You know,
right now?
actually, Michigan State plays Eastern Michigan here in about 5 minutes. So
Right.
I'm going to pour myself a bourbon and watch that.
That's your
But
time.
I did ask you if you maybe had a story about Morgan that you could share with us. You and Pete, obviously, there's a bunch of other assistants on here. I mean, you know, Morgan passed away in January, and he started this event, so it's only appropriate. I mean, Pete just told that story about Morgan, but you have one that you could share with us about Coach?
Well, I just think, you know, wrapping it up for me with him, and, you know, to have been around him, you know, I went to his basketball camp when I was 9 years old, and he lectured and was around him, and you know, and then was fortunate enough to come and be a student at DeMath and play there, and then come back, which gave me an amazing perspective. You know, Bill was my 10th grade English teacher, and then I sat at the lunch table with him, and we talked about different issues with teaching and young people, and so, but to be around, to be like mentored by Morgan, and to see the educator that he was, you know, and how he anticipated issues and communicated with people and had unbelievable diplomacy and poise. I mean, my God, would, you know, probably a lot of us handling this crisis management COVID world, we are better off because we watch Morgan handle the shit hitting the fan with poise and diplomacy, you know, when we were, you know, under his wing. And I'll tell you what, I've drawn on his stuff always, but the last 7-8 months, oh boy, do I think about him a lot, handling a situation and working through it and not knee jerking and not becoming emotional, but yet always having the young people in mind. What's best for the kids in the kids' business? And man, that's what DeMath has been, man. It's just, we got so much depth and history of great educators. And that is why people give back and will give back and keep our place getting to the other side of this, as Mike Jones so aptly said. So for all of you, have a great Thanksgiving. It is great to see you. Love you to death. Go Stags. And, you know, turn to TV, Big Ten Network. I'll be up in East Lansing. I'm going to try and stay off the officials and on a Saturday night up there. But everybody be safe, be blessed, and go Stags.
So thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Mike, so much. Thank you, Pete. Thank you, everyone else, for coming here tonight. And let's hope a year from now we can all be together. But go Stags. Everyone have the best Thanksgiving you possibly can have, and count your blessings. St. John de Matha, pray for us. Good night.
Thank you.